It's the end of the day with Ray. Hello, my friends. Well, folks, if you look at that gigantic, sharp, interactive board, you're going to see none other than Andre Debrano. Did I say that right, Andre? Am I
Durbano,
close enough?
close enough.
Close enough. I mean, people have a hard time with my name, too. But, ladies and gentlemen, I wanted to bring Andre on. I just recently went to Boston, attended their FY 2025 kickoff. Always fun to talk to my Riso friends. But I wanted to bring Andre on, and we want to talk about some things because the industry is definitely changing. Equipment needs are changing. Applications are changing. And at the end of the day, I think Riso has a big place in our industry. Whether they agree with me or not where that place might be, well, time will tell. But we're going to talk about some things. So without any further ado, Andre, welcome to the show. We're so glad to have you on. I was thinking this is the first time you've been on, right?
This is the first time I've been on into the lion's den here. I had several people say to me, "You're going on Ray's episode. You be careful. Ray likes to speak his mind, God forbid."
Well, I always find it funny when everybody talks about freedom of speech until somebody says something they might not like. And then it's like, oh, no, we got to stifle that conversation. Hey, look, at the end of the day, one of the reasons I'm a big fan of Riso is because I do believe you have a great place in our industry. I also know for a fact you guys are bold in your ways. You're not afraid of challenges, and you're not afraid of where the future's going. And that makes you, well, ripe to be one of the disruptors as far as I'm concerned. But, Andre, this meeting that we had, and this was the second time I attended your kickoff, and it's really great to see your team. And, most of us know that Riso is a smaller player in our space, but I did look at your numbers. So for the first 9 months, we're waiting for the year-end numbers coming from you and some other folks. But for the first 9 months, you did $400 million in revenue, and you had an operating profit of $30 million, or 7.5%. So I have to do a big kudos to that, because even though you're small, you know how to make damn money. And it just amazes me because you got some competitors out there that did $5.5 billion in revenue, lost $122 million, and just told the whole world they're going to probably lose about $400 for the year. So I want to congratulate Riso, because I don't think I've ever seen you, since I've been doing these OEMs financials, I don't think I've ever seen you in the toilet. And in our trying times we're in right now, that's important. That's important to make sure we make money.
One of the things we do at Riso is, we're focused on profitability. We do not want to go after market share to the detriment of profits. I've been in this business a long time, and there were many points in my sales career where it was all about market share. And today I find myself working for a company that is focused on profitability at a time when I really think everybody needs to be focused on profitability, because this economy can be quite challenging.
Well, if you don't have the profits, you can't pivot. And this is a problem. I mean, when you're barely making any money, and you have to pivot, and you have to, face a major challenge like COVID that we all had to go through, where
Right.
some of the economic turmoils we're going through right now, and the tariffs, and there's a lot of uncertainty in the marketplace, and you're going to need those profits to help you pivot or do something or respond to a market that's not, to your favor, if you will. But one of the things that I noticed at this meeting, you took me in the room, I saw this machines. But this roll fed thing you got going on, I want to address that a little bit, because the transactional space for high volume printing has really kind of changed. It used to be where everybody was running all this stuff on these major, big, huge presses, the Heidelbergs, if you will, of the world, and then the volume started to drop. And as the volume started to drop, I think that's where Riso really gained a lot of momentum. And they were able to put multiple units in place of these bigger ones. And now you're coming out with this roll fed that attaches to the Valisys, and that's just, we need to share a little bit of that, because that is, to me, is pretty damn cool.
You mentioned the market changing, and I think you've also in the past mentioned how COVID kind of accelerated everything that was changing or anything that was wrong with our industry. COVID did accelerate that, and it accelerated not just our industry, but the buyers in the print world, those that are buying print, those that are selling print. Basically, you have a situation where paper's gone up in price. Postage has gone up, continues to go up. Wages have gone up. And not to be outdone, 2025 has introduced tariffs into the mix. I mean, just paper, postage, and wages alone is the backbone of the print industry. You add tariffs to this, these print shops are having to make adjustments. The print buyer is no longer sending the great big job. They're splitting that job in half. Mm-hmm. And so where they at one time maybe purchased or sent out a PO for 2 million prints, today they're doing 1 million. If it was 1 million, today they're doing 500,000. So they're being very careful in the manner that they buy print. The print shops have had to respond by printing double the number of jobs, not necessarily double the volume. It's the same volume, but it's that volume now cut in half. And so what used to be, one print shop told me in 2018 or so, they had done like 4,000 jobs, and in 2023 they did 8,000 jobs. Same volume, no extra revenue, but double the number of people involved. And so that has really changed, and it's brought in a need. It's introduced a need for smaller devices like Riso, where you have the one big device that could do it all 10 years ago. Today you need multiple smaller units to address multiple smaller, shorter run length jobs. And so we've teamed up with Tech Now, which is a fantastic product. And what you saw in our showroom last week was the perforating device, which kind of sits right in the middle of our unit, perforates in various different directions. But we can also add a roll to the front of that unit, a roll to cut, so that when it hits the Riso, the paper is actually cut to size, typically letter size. And we're doing 320 impressions a minute on that device. So yeah, you saw how big it is and how powerful it can be.
It's pretty amazing. And I think when you look at that direct mail space, one of the things that's changed dramatically is the lists have gotten so much better. And that's the reason that the volumes were able to drop. We used to have to send out 5 million, addresses to get a return. Today we could send out probably 500,000 to get the same return because our lists are so good. We know who we're sending it to. So, and I keep telling people it's never about, print just going away one day. It's about the drastic reduction in output, putting pressure on a business model that made a whole lot of people rich. And when the pressure goes on the business model, you got to adjust the cost. You got to adjust the whole business model to make sure that you can still be profitable in the declining marketplace. I think Rizzo's in a sweet spot. But, share with the audience, because I thought this was remarkable, if you can remember the numbers. But you have a major account. It's in the South, and they just do a huge amount of volume. They're using the Valises, but share a little details on that account and their volume and history, because I thought it was amazing.
So that account had 5 Valises. This year they picked up 2 more. They're up to 7. But on those 5 Valises T2200s, they, over the past 50 months, have printed 700 million impressions. Now, if you do the math on that, they do about 22 million a month. Our products are rated for 2 million a month, and they have been printing 3 million a month, every month, for going on 50 months now. And that's the beauty of having a technology that has no heat. While the product may be rated for 2 million a month, you can kick it up to 3 million. And as long as you service the device on a consistent basis, you really get a lot of value. And on those, here's the interesting part, on those 700 million impressions, they purchased just under $400,000 in parts. It comes out to about 0005 per copy in parts. So this is not just a Riso story. This is a story of Inkjet, as you yourself have spoken about over and over. Inkjet is a type of technology that uses very few parts and certainly a lot less electricity, if anybody's calculating that. But is certainly profitable for those who use it, those who sell it, and for the end user, it's a way for them to get into color in a way that doesn't disrupt their budget, their print, their reprographics budget, allows for them to introduce color into the mix at a reasonable price.
Well, I think that's the niche that you all have, And quite honestly, you got the right side of the niche when you think about business or transactional print regarding color. Because as I said, people in business are not printing pictures of saltwater fish swimming around in an aquarium. They don't need that crap. And so, I always say that the color, even the MFPs that are full color, we see Epson trying to go into that space. We got Kyocera with their Task Alpha at the production level. Mm-hmm. I keep telling them, get that stuff downstream and get into the marketplace. But when you think about, business inkjet, it got so good, but people don't do that stuff anymore because it all moved to glass. There's a conference room that has a 60-inch or 90-inch, sharp board at the end of the conference table, and that's where they're reading. That's where they're looking at all their pie charts and all that stuff. Nobody's walking into a boardroom getting a bunch of handouts of full color, with the best quality color in the world. It's irrelevant. Business color is just maybe to grab your attention, to show you something. This is all throwaway stuff. You're going to read it and throw it in the trash.
Right.
Or you're going to get a mailer that you're going to look at and you're going to throw it in the trash. Why in the world would you want to spend the kind of money you would have to spend to run that on a super high-end color machine? And that's where I'm going to go with you, Andre. We got to get your ComColor, put the MFP in there, and get in the offices and disrupt the hell out of Epson. Well, they're running around trying to get all the high gloss fancy color that nobody does. You go in there and help these end users get business color they need. I just had to throw that in there.
So it's a good point. It's a valid point. I'm not privy to what our Japanese engineers are designing at the factory in Japan. I will say this. We used to chase a lot of schools. We used to chase a lot of nonprofits. We still do, but to the point we made a few minutes ago, we used to do that to go after market share to the detriment of profit. And, it's nice to sell a deal for 50 inkjet units, 100 inkjet units, but when you're not making money at it, you kind of have to look at that and say, is this really making sense? But hopefully, somewhere down the line, Riso can devise a technology that gets us into that space in a manner that is affordable. That's affordable and profitable. That's the key. If it's profitable, we'll do it. Our product makes sense in production, sense as in CENTS, because it is profitable. It's profitable for us. It's profitable for the dealers that sell the technology, and it makes total sense for that print operation using Riso. These print operations on a daily basis are talking the same language we all are about controlling expenses, reducing costs. Inkjet is a cost-cutting tool. It is a strategic tool for these print operations to make the balance sheet make sense. If you are a dealer and you don't sell inkjet, you are not part of those discussions. So I don't understand how any dealer can exist today, especially if they're in the production arena, and not be part of those discussions to where the end user is saying, XYZ dealers offering me the black and white devices, they're offering me the color toner devices, but they're also bringing inkjet to the equation, which is a nice complement to our operation and really rounds out the operation quite nicely. As a dealer, you need to be part of this discussion.
I think a lot of times the dealers are there's some OEMs that are going to have a struggle with inkjet too because they're so profitable with toner. They just can't get out of their own damn way sometimes. But, the reality of it is, I remember when I started that damn A4 revolution, and I heard everybody telling me all the reasons why it would never work. We could never go to A4 because we're going to lose all this money. But all the reasons they gave me had nothing to do with the damn end users. All the reasons had to do with the industry trying to keep themselves comfortable. And we got to go where the end users are going. And you'd have to be completely out of your mind to believe that we're going to be in this laser living world for forever. It's not going to happen. Inkjet there's too many benefits to it. And as soon as you get dealers around the country, and there will be dealers around the country that are going to figure out a way to take inkjet technologies into the mainstream of our business and completely disrupt the hell out of it. And it's not about all color. I believe it's about black and white inkjet only devices. I believe it's about transactional devices like you have. There's a lot of ways that we can go and disrupt the laser world. We just got to be willing to do it. And it only takes a little bit of momentum. And as that snowball goes down that hill, it just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And we saw what happened in the industrial space with print. It's all about ink. They're doing some crazy things with inkjet technology. And there's no reason in the world that we cannot be using inkjet technology in business printing. It's just absurd to think that we can't do this.
Ink has been around forever, and for decades it dominated the industry. It was replaced by toner because toner in its digital form is so much more convenient. It is so much easier to use, but it's more expensive. Inkjet is a blend. It's a compromise. It has all the speed, versatility, and economy that was the offset press, but with the ease of operation that comes with the digital platform. You blend the two, and now you have ink on your floor on a technology anybody can use. You don't need a specialized operator. It's fast because it's got no heat. Our fastest unit is 320 impressions an hour. I forget, it's 19,600 an hour, if I'm not mistaken. That's 160 pages duplex per minute in color. So it's really fast, and we use just regular outlets. Again, the advantages of having no heat.
Well, you have a nice customer base. You have great testimonials out there. Riso is a household name in our industry, and I always tell people it's not your granddad's Riso. It's not that rice paper duplicator. It's way past that. That Valysys.
It's still out there. That duplicator.
Well, it is, and there's still people
popular.
using them. But I'm just saying,
Oh,
when you look at the Valysys and some of this other stuff in your ComColor devices, you really have a nice portfolio of products, and it could really be disruptive for a dealer if they started, challenging the marketplace in a way that we're not challenging it. And
sure. Well, you know what? Many people refer to us as one of the best kept secrets. We are the most popular inkjet technology in the world. Nobody puts out as many production inkjet devices as Riso does. I think last year we put in production alone, we must have put out just slightly over 200 units in the production arena alone. Forget all that other stuff that's more office space. So we are, if market share means anything in terms of placements, in that, $100,000 give or take price range, there's a mix of products in those 200 plus that we put into the production world. There's a mix of Valysys units, there's GL units, there's a few FT units in there for envelopes. But when you take that entire mix of products in production, there's no manufacturer that comes close to Riso in terms of the number of production units installed in that arena.
Here's what I would bet too, and it'd be nice to get some statistics on this. It's a lot easier for you to replace some existing laser technologies than it is for folks to replace your inkjet technologies.
I'm starting to get the impression you have it in for the laser world.
Well, I think we need to challenge the laser world. We need to challenge it like we've never challenged it before, because I believe the customers want ink. So if I could get people excited about inkjet, we need to start the momentum. Like I said, in 2017 when I was talking about A4, no one even wanted to hear it. And we're seeing the numbers. The customers always wanted A4. And once they found out they could get it, once COVID gave them the awareness that maybe, hey, I don't print this kind of crap. I'm not printing on 11 by 17 paper, and I don't need these over-spec'd and oversold A3s. I'll move to A4. And I think we're going to have that same momentum with inkjet. I don't think it is.
Well, if the big players figured it out years ago, and by big players I mean the big, massive print shops who cater to corporate America, who, again, they figured out that all the marketing items they were printing, all that collateral, all those transactional pieces, those documents going out, the millions and millions going out, that toner just wasn't going to cut it. Mm-hmm. And so the big players in both, again, the print shops and the end user figured it out, that they needed to gravitate to something that made more sense. It's amazing that the traditional office space hasn't figured it out yet. It's good enough for the big players, but not worthy of the smaller players.
Well, because they have a business model. They have a business model that they monetize. And this is what drives me crazy. Because I believe they could come in with inkjet business printing and they wouldn't have to save people money, this obsession. Because I think the value they would give the customer, they could change the way service contracts are written. They could change the way supplies are put in the machine. They could change the whole process. And innovation is never a damn product. It's a change in process. Inkjet allows our industry to change a lot of processes. And when we can change processes to the benefit of the end user, by not having a tech have to throw a diaper on the ground, and show his butt crack doing a 4-hour PM or a 5-hour PM, because Inkjet doesn't have any of that stuff. When they don't have to run in there with a big giant tote full of parts, to put in a machine, because a machine was built so we replace all these parts so we could keep an industry service, processes alive that were alive in 1970. And it's going to happen. It's going to happen. I'm either going to convince Riso to bring a business inkjet machine into the marketplace, beating up my friends over there at Kyocera to do the same thing. But sooner or later, somebody's going to do this. And I think, where Epson, I think they had an opportunity to really be disruptive, but they're focused on high-end graphics, color, and business. And that doesn't exist. You got dealers that are putting these Epson color machines that are based in inkjet, even though they know the volumes are more black and white. And let's be honest, in business printing, it's about 20% color at the most, and it's never changed. It's been that way forever. And we thought we were these offices were going to print full color everything, and maybe 20 years ago that was good thinking. But then we figured out how to put all this technology behind glass and keep us from printing to begin with. But if someone can come in with
that, and you have today, offices have implemented software that will monitor and limit your use of color. I mean, give me a break. It's 2025, and we're still limiting the use of color printing.
Oh, yeah.
And some people refer to color printing as a luxury. I think an apartment off the coast of Greece somewhere might be a luxury. A Lamborghini in the garage is a luxury, not color printing. I'm sorry, not when a technology like inkjet exists to address those stuck in a black and white world that simply want to put a little bit of color on a sheet of paper.
And you have to be realistic about the quality of the color. And, everybody, we don't. Why is it that we have to make everything based on an extreme? So the whole industry bases color on that extreme user that's way the hell out of the fringes, that has to have this, picture of a fish tank, of a saltwater fish tank, I call it, because all those viruses. Nobody does that crap. But yet the whole industry bases the whole color application in a business environment based on that saltwater fish tank picture, and it's just ridiculous. So
I see it at trade shows with the envelope market, where some people are shown edge-to-edge bleed off of an envelope. Like, who does that? When's the last time you had an envelope come to your house that had printing edge-to-edge? It's not very realistic, and that's inkjet is a reflection of the fact that it's pragmatic, and in times of that the market crash in 2007, 2008, we did well. Today, we continue to do well. Anytime things get tight, we live it at home, right? Things get tight, the economy changes. We look at the way we're shopping for groceries, how we're buying cars, and it's the same with the print buyer. They are buying print differently, and suddenly inkjet makes a lot of sense. I was doing the math on we just finished our fiscal year. If I'm not wrong, based on the number of inks we sold in FY24, we must have had end users in America, just the U.S. alone, print almost 3 billion impressions on Riso products in the field. That's how much ink we sold. Again, there was some very quick math. I think we're maybe 2.8, 2.9 billion, thereabouts, number of copies coming off of a Riso in FY24 alone.
Well, the one thing I've always liked about you, Andre, is your numbers. and even if you don't know them, you've researched them enough that you're close. But there's too many people that don't want to talk about their numbers. They're ashamed of them for some stupid reason. And some people should be ashamed of them, that's for sure. But, I think Riso definitely has a place in our industry. I think that your products that you have today are exciting. It'll be interesting to see as you displace more laser equipment. I know you did a big deal with a major retailer where you took out a major OEM's laser machine, and or a couple laser machines, or I think a bunch of laser machines, and turn that into a
That was a hardware store.
turn that into a Valisys, account, which is awesome. So, is there anything you want to add before we end this?
Well, we had our annual kickoff last week at Riso. So the whole company flies in. We've got the office staff, the marketing people, everybody's there, and you were the guest speaker this year, and it was really, really interesting. And some people at Riso, it's the first time they were exposed to you. It's a bit of a shock to the system. You have to know Ray to really appreciate him. But what you said about the industry and the changes that are taking place. How some individuals continue to fight change rather than embrace change, and our whole theme was change. I think what you had to say truly resonated, so it was really good. I really appreciated having you there for that 90 minutes that you spoke to the teams.
Well, I look forward to it, and I hope I can come again next year. I know I was there in 24 too, so as long as I don't wear out my welcome, because Andre, our industry is going through disruption, going through challenges, and everybody that watches me knows this. Status quo is the killer of all that'll be invented. Don't get stuck there, and I'll see you all tomorrow.